334 million people live here in the United States. But you know what's crazy? 25% of those people have $0 saved for retirement. That's right, over 84 million people. But that also leaves 250 million people who want to be saving for retirement and want to know how much money they need to retire. So whether you're part of the 25% or whether you're part of the 75%, you are in the right place. Today's video, we are going to be covering how to know how much money you need for retirement in under 8 minutes. So whether you're just starting out or you're getting very close to retirement, this video is for you. And if we hadn't had a chance to meet, my name's Luke Turner. I'm the co-founder of Moment Private Wealth. Real business owners make smarter decisions with their money. So stick with me throughout this video because at the end of this video, the last part is going to be the most important, where I'm going to show you exactly how much money you need to have saved in order to retire today. I would really appreciate it if a few of you subscribe to this channel because we're going to be putting out more and more content just like this, and we're putting a lot of time, energy, and effort into giving you valuable information that you can take action on. Let's draw out the normal retirement planning scenario. You're 21 years old, you get your first job, and what do they offer you? A 401k. And you say, well, I want to be saving for retirement, so let's start putting money into that 401k. As you get a little bit older, you enter into your 30s. You start making some significant income and you start putting more money away. You enter into your 40s and you have a midlife crisis and you realize, I really don't want to have to be working forever. How do I make sure I accelerate my retirement savings? And you start putting more and more money away. And then typically it's not until your 50s when you start to realize, holy cow, we are really close to retirement age. Where am I actually at in this process? Well, again, whether you're 20 years old, just contributing your first dollars to your 401k, or you're 50 plus and you're saying, well, how do I retire right now? This first step is for you, which is understanding what your expenses are. It sounds so basic, so foundational, but without knowing what your expenses are, it's impossible to come up with what your retirement plan should be. Now, my encouragement to you is when you think about your expenses, break them into two categories. You're gonna have your fixed expenses and then you're gonna have your variable expenses. Let's look at some examples of fixed expenses versus variable expenses. So if your fixed expenses, these are gonna be things like your mortgage, your car payment, things that recur on a monthly basis. And then you're gonna have your variable expenses. Think about these as the vacations that you take on an annual basis, going out to dinner with friends, country club membership, all the things that you spend money on that could fluctuate throughout the course of the year, or you could cut out at any point in time. So what I want you to do is I want you to pause this video and I want you to go through that exercise. Write down what your fixed expenses are, write down what your variable expenses are. And if you have questions on either of those, drop a comment below and I'll respond to it. So now that you understand what your expenses are, we need to move on to what are the assets that you own. So when you think about assets, we really need to make sure that we have a good understanding of what your net worth looks like. So on one side of your net worth, you're gonna have your assets, and on the other side of your net worth, you're gonna have your liabilities. Let's walk through what the assets are you need to be thinking about from a retirement planning standpoint. So typically what we're gonna see on somebody's net worth is we are going to see the value of their checking and savings account, right? Think about this like your emergency fund. Then we're gonna have our qualified accounts. These are gonna be things like your Roth IRAs, your 401ks, maybe a solo 401k. Then we're gonna have our taxable accounts. Think about these as brokerage accounts that you've invested money into. Also on the asset side, we're gonna have the value of your home or properties. Important to note, on your net worth, make sure that you're thinking about, are these properties that I'm gonna continue to live in throughout the course of retirement, or are these properties that I'm going to be selling and using to fund my retirement? Example, that might be a vacation property that you're not gonna own in retirement, or maybe it's a vacation property that you're gonna be renting out. You're gonna wanna make sure that you are including that. And then last piece is making sure that on your net worth, if you own a business, make sure that you have that business value in there. If you're not sure what the business value is, make sure that you talk to a qualified business valuation specialist who can give you the valuation of your business. It's vital as a business owner to make sure you're including this in your financial and retirement planning. Now we have our assets on this side of the net worth. On the other side, we are gonna have our liabilities. These are gonna be any debts that you have. This could be car debt, this could be mortgages, this could be business debt. Make sure you're including that because as we approach retirement, we're gonna wanna make sure we understand, are these debts that are going to continue throughout the course of retirement. The easiest example is a mortgage. Typically what we see is that as people enter into retirement, they pay off their mortgage, they pay off almost all of their debt, so they're in a really good position entering into retirement, and they've reduced the amount of cash flow that they need on a monthly and annual basis. So I want you to pause the video right now, and I want you to build out your net worth statement. It's really important to make sure that you understand this foundation and you understand what your net worth is before you move on to the last step, which is the most important. Again, if you have questions on that net worth, now that you've built it out, please comment below. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. What you have all been waiting for, our last and most important step, which is how much money do I need in order to fund my lifestyle in retirement? So what I'm gonna go ahead and pull up is what I call guardrails-based planning. It's important to note that when we think about guardrails-based planning, there's a lot of variables that we take into account that are nearly impossible to take into account in a YouTube video. Things like Social Security, things like vacation rental property. So we're gonna simplify it down for this video, and we're just gonna be thinking about the assets that we have in our investment accounts. So our 401ks, Roth IRAs, solo 401ks, and brokerage accounts. Anything else that we have that's invested in the public stock market. That's how we're thinking about it from a retirement planning standpoint here. And for those assets, we use something called a guardrails-based planning approach. Why guardrails-based planning, you might ask? Well, let me tell you. It allows you to spend more money in retirement. It's that simple. So let's dive in. So what we're looking at over here on the screen is I want to bring your attention over to the portfolio balance. So the example we're using here is a $5 million portfolio. And as we enter into retirement, there's one thing that we know for certain. We cannot predict what's going to happen in the market. There's going to be years where the market's up, and there's going to be years when the market's down. So when we think about guardrails, the way that we operate is as the portfolio value continues to rise, we're able to send you more money on a monthly basis, and you're able to spend more money off your portfolio. But as the market goes down in value, or if there's a recession, we need to make sure we're tightening our belt and we're making sure that we have those costs and expenses under control. In this example, if we had a $5 million portfolio, we're projecting that we could spend roughly $20,833 on a monthly basis. After taxes, we're projecting this to be roughly $15,625. The great thing about this number is this is the lowest base case scenario for folks that are at retirement age, which we're assuming in this example is age 65. The biggest mistake that I see retirees make is that they spend less money than they can in those key retirement years, age 65 to 75. And then what ends up happening is they have more money than they know what to do with past age 75, and then they can't go do those things that they've always dreamed of throughout the course of saving for those golden years in retirement. One of the biggest fears that retirees have is that there's going to be a recession. So what happens if the market drops by 20%? So your portfolio drops from $5 million down to $4 million. Well, one, we're not going to panic. We're going to stay engaged in the market. But in this case, what we're going to see is that we're going to decrease the amount of income we're spending off the portfolio by 10%. So if the portfolio drops by 20%, we only drop your income by 10%. So you drop from $250,000 annually to $225,000. Now, what happens if the portfolio increases in value? Same math. If we see an increase by 20% in the market, we're going to increase our portfolio income by 10% that we can draw. And the reality is that we would expect that over the course of time, that income would go up and the portfolio value would go up as well. As you're looking at this page and you're thinking, wow, I would really love to have access to this page, or I'd really love to know what my number is. Comment retirement below and I will send you over this exact document for you to be able to run the calculation on your own. If you've made it this far in this video, you're probably enjoying this type of content. And if you enjoyed this type of content, you're going to be enjoying more and more content that we're putting out there. Subscribe to the channel below, and I will see you next week.